Thursday night, and the news gang is here. Good evening and welcome. This night we talk census, the numbers and the politics of it. Those who will be counted. And wait a moment, who will do the counting? Kangemi did not look good today. And word from the courts is not shining light either. The BBI and some have not been calling it the Building Bridges Initiative. And yes, BBI is out there on a retreat to compile the final report. What is it likely to contain? And of course, the memo, the punchline and the kicker will follow, even as the angle and the take a break. We start with the census, and we'd like to welcome Macdonald Obudho, the Director of Population and Social Statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Welcome, Obudho.
Thank you so much, Jamila, for hosting me here tonight.
Our special guest today.
Thank you.
That seat is very hot. Okay, I'd like us to start with the latest. There's a court order following petitioners going to court from Homa Bay County about this whole process. And the court has said that public servants cannot be used in the exercise. What does this mean for you?
It means a lot, Jamila, because already trainings that have been cascaded are on. We have already done the training for the ICT supervisors. The next level was the training for the content supervisors, which has also been done. At the moment, we have just completed day 2 of the training of the enumerators, which will be concluded on 20th of this month. Now, there's very little time that is left in between to train any additional staff to undertake the exercise. But of course, one clear thing is that the recruitment, the way it was arranged, gives a lot of hope, because I know public servants or civil servants are really not recruited as enumerators. Because one thing that was very clear out there, that it was that we required to only engage unemployed youth for the purposes of enumerators. And probably we would also need to look at the numbers that we are talking about.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, Mr. Obudho. What portion, what is the percentage of public servants in this list of enumerators? The numbers we've been given about in total would be in the region of hundreds of thousands. How many of those will be public servants?
First of all, Bana Kakai, we need to deal with the various cadres that have been recruited for the census, so that we do not just depend on the numbers, but there is the role for each cadre, which
Right.
we need also to understand. Yeah. Now, when you look at the census processes, we have committees that have been established at the national level. Then we have the committees at the county level, and then the sub-county. Now, these are drivers of these processes. And when it comes to the personnel that is going to undertake the census, we have layers. And these layers have certain purposes to fulfill. For example, when we talk of the ICT supervisors, these are people who are meant to be very good with their ICT skills, because we are talking of a digital census, which then requires quite a lot of technical experts in IT. So these are fellows that we have actually brought on board. Now, at this level, it did not really require an enumerator who might even be a Form 4 who has attained the grade C in Form 4 level. But we required graduates with skills on leadership. Other than the IT, they are also skilled in leadership, because you see, when you get to a household and their challenges, you need some authority, somebody with experience who is able to unlock the problems that are there. It could be about the refusal. It could be about gadgets not working. We need to have everything moving.
This of course explains the question of unemployment in our country, and when these opportunities arise, it's not the first time they have. Remember, during the voter registration process, recently during the census, and young people were complaining that they were bypassed, and those who already have jobs and maybe they are on holiday or have taken leave were considered at their expense. And probably, maybe in a nutshell, you and the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics will need to explain to these young people that actually you were not bypassed. These were the requirements that we needed, and these are the specific kind of people that we were looking for, and they ought to have these kind of skills. Otherwise, what you saw in Kangemi is likely to be replicated in very many parts of this country.
In fact, before you answer that, Mr. Obudho, he's mentioned Kangemi, and I'd like us to look at some of the scenes that were witnessed in Kangemi today before you answer the question, Mr. Obudho. Robert, can we see the pictures from Kangemi today? Mr. Obudho, that was just in Kangemi today. Those were the scenes. Police had to be called in to quell the angry residents of that area. And they also had a valid point. And Robert, before we continue also, can we just listen to a bit of what they had to say, why they were angry at the training exercise that was going to start?
Mimi sihesabiwi mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu, tia gas wacha ikuje.
Tuna demand, hatuombi, tuna demand gas. Lazima.
Watu wanatoka mbali kwa nini? Na vijana hapa imesoma. Kwa nini? Hatutakubali. Hata nyumba hatutafungua wahesabu sisi. Sisi tutafunga milango na tulale. Hatutaki mtu wa kuhesabu sisi. Kama ninajua ni kijana wa hapa, nitafungua mlango. Kama ni watu wa Uisland, tutafungua milango na tutatembea West mzima tukiinsight. Hakuna milango zitafunguliwa.
Mr. Obudho, they've said no, hatutahesabiwa kama sio wa hapa, hatuwaruhusu waingie, and that is just Kangemi. There may be other areas where we'll see this happening. What do you have to say about that?
I think, Jamila, what is actually lacking here is correct information flowing down. Mm-hmm. And I want us to look at the figures in a more sober manner. We intended to recruit 164,700. Mm-hmm. Now, that is the estimates that we had before cartographic mapping was carried out. Now, after that process, we established the numbers that is required. And that number is slightly less than the 164,000. We are talking of 163,000, around 400. Now, within this number, let us get the breakdown. That for ICT supervisors, there are 2,467. For the content supervisors, there are 22,268. And then for the enumerators, there are 138,572. Now, I want us to look at the case that could be bringing this problem across the country. So, first of all, we all need to understand that we have an issue with unemployment in this country. There are many, many people who have gone to school, but there are no jobs, and therefore they are not engaged. Census exercise is not going to solve that problem fully. It is something that is just done in less than 1 month, and it is over. Now, when the recruitment was being undertaken, it was made clear that for the case of enumerators, we need to recruit unemployed youth. Now, unemployed youth here would mean that we are talking of those who are between 18 years and 35. Now, what are their numbers? Their numbers are already 138,572. And I want you to look at that proportion against the total. You will realize that we are talking of over 85%. Going to those who are aged between 18 and 35. What is left out is less than 15%. Now, look at the 15%. It is distributed between those who are IT savvy so that they deal with the technical issues that could be arising from that digital technology that we are employing in the current census. Now, the only other group which is equally not big is that of the content supervisors, who will be supervising the enumerators. Now, look at it that in any organization, you would want to have people at various categories. We cannot be all at equal level and then supervising ourselves at different stages, and we expect a census to be properly undertaken.
But Jamila, let me just paint the other picture here that is emerging. When you see those youth in Kangemi, the anger is also just about jobs, employment. Where can we get jobs? Where they look at this as an opportunity to get employed. And in all fairness to the KNBS, the national census exercise is not enough to solve unemployment problems. And I think from my understanding of what Macdonald here is saying is, look, even the absorption cannot take as many as the locals that we saw today would wish. But maybe one thing that he could explain is, so that for the understanding of those especially who are waiting for this exercise, how exactly do these teams move, and how big an area or how many households does a team cover?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this points to certain processes that we have been undertaking from 2016 up to end of June. There is what we call cartographic mapping. This is the process that would actually subdivide this country into smaller pieces that are manageable during census period, and they are called enumeration areas. So an enumeration area requires to have an average of 100 households. So mathematically it can be between 50 to 149. Mm-hmm. So any village, just consider your village at home. If your village conforms to a number that is between 50 to 149, it qualifies to be one enumeration area which we would be able to use for the census. If it is larger than that, we subdivide it depending on the number of households in it. If it is too small, we would be able to combine it with the neighboring village so that we form one enumeration area. So it is this process that would give us the number of enumeration areas. So in short, an enumerator is required to cover about 100 households within the period of 7 days of counting. Mm-hmm. Now, these 100 households has made us realize a total of 129,400 enumeration areas. So that means that we would need to have that kind of a number of enumerators. Now, the number of content supervisors is determined from the number of enumerators, that we would want to have an average of about 6 enumerators being under one content supervisor. Mm-hmm. So then the calculation goes on. And then for the content supervisors, we are saying that one ICT supervisor should manage to handle about 10 content supervisors. Mm-hmm. So then that gives us the number.
Mr. Obudho, before you continue, it's well and good that we want to do the census, and there are various reasons why it's done. But even as this show is going on, we're getting a lot of feedback from our viewers, and one constant is that there's a gentleman called Mugambi who's saying, I will not open my door to anyone who looks to be above 35 years. Let them file me or jail me. Some things are not jokes. There's someone else who is saying, I have an issue with the census activities being carried out during odd hours, as people with ill intentions would take advantage and even rob or harm others in the name of census. The lady here was saying, my gate will be locked with 2 padlocks, and I don't open the gate if the visitor hasn't called. That's just a sample. So I have 2 questions. One, didn't we do enough civic education or communication to people to let them understand what this is all about? Because if someone says, you're not going to enter my house, you're not going to enter my house, what does that mean exactly? And number 2, what about their security? Because someone is worried that I will just open doors to someone I don't know. So those are 2 issues. People are saying, I will not open my door. One, they educated enough about this census, and 2, what about their security?
Okay, first of all, the publicity and advocacy is a process that is ongoing. We had to start a little bit late because there before we had another national exercise, the Huduma number. So there's no way we could go out about, talking about census when Huduma number was also ongoing. And that's also another serious national exercise. So we had to wait until that one is kind of concluded, or the phase one is concluded, so that we can start talking about the census. So at the moment, a lot of publicity is going on. If you open your newspaper, you'll be able to see a whole page dedicated for publicity on census. When you we have prepared flyers, we have prepared posters, we are on the radio, we are on the TVs, trying to reach members of the public about this.
But Macdonald, you saw in Kangemi people who are simply bringing it down to one simple question: who is that asking me to open the door? They want to see people they know. And
their neighbors, people from their localities.
And they're saying, if they're not from my locality, then I'm not going to open the door.
That's okay. Now, we also need to appreciate that when we talk about when we went out to do the advertisement, we made it clear that you must be a resident of the area you are going to apply in, not necessarily being a native, but a resident. Now, if I'm a resident of an area, I have an opportunity to apply. How are we doing this thing? First of all, I've mentioned about various committees that were formed at the national and the county level. At the county level, we have the county census committee chaired by the county commissioner. Now, below that, we have the sub-county census committees chaired by the deputy county commissioner. Now, at the county level, we inaugurated those committees and shared the roles that they were to play. One of them was actually recruitment.
Okay.
And in the papers, we were very clear on what was required. Then the team at the county level was also clear on how the recruitment was going to be done. Now, one thing that comes out clearly is that at the point that the advert was out, and it was mentioned that the enumerators are going to apply through the office of the assistant chief, then the content supervisors were to take the applications to the chief's office, while the ICT supervisors were taking their applications to the county statistics officers. Now, noise started from there, that now this process is going to be unfair. Now, Kenyans would expect a process not to be fair even before it starts. Really, that is so negative. That would be so negative of us. Now, the chiefs and the assistant chiefs did not have any other role in recruitment other than collecting the applications, and we are generating the application number, the serial numbers, so that no form of application would get lost when they are being submitted to the next level. Now, then the census, the county census committees would take over the process of recruitment. And the recruitment, first of all, before I go to the recruitment, we registered over 800,000. For how many jobs that we applied? We advertised for 164,700. Now you can imagine that those who would qualify for these chances were less than a quarter. So really, it was not going to be possible to recruit more than that number, just because we have the problem of unemployment. We could only take the number that is required for this process. So anybody who is not taken would feel that the process is not fair. Those who are taken, and we did the interviews through a very rigorous process. Let me just explain that before I get to the issue of the insecurity and doing this exercise at night, because it is not really at night. The night is only one, but let me first of all deal with this other bit. Now, when it comes to the recruitment, First of all, it was designed that ICT supervisors and content supervisors would be undertaking 2 interviews. But for the enumerators, because of their numbers, they were taking 1 interview. Now, so the process started by interviewing, first of all, from the advertisement, we had to record all the applicants. Then shortlisting was done based on the minimum requirement. Now, from that point, we would subject the large numbers to written interviews. Why were we doing written interviews? Ordinarily, we would have done just 1 interview. But we realized that the numbers were overwhelming. And therefore, we needed a process that would help us do further shortlisting so that those who appear in the final interview, which was now meant to be done face-to-face, would be reduced. So, from the written interviews, after they are done, those interviews, we were able, the various committees were able to come up with a number that would appear for the oral interview.
Right.
Yes.
But so, Macdonald, just address a question that being raised by one Polycarp Opio, who says the 2019 census will be conducted by people who had connections with either the assistant chief or DO. Did you as KNBS have a mechanism of making sure that at that level the recruitment is done in a fair way, in a way that doesn't reflect favoritism, as this viewer is alleging?
Okay. And in fact, as you answer that question, the question of mistrust is one that you cannot take away. I mean, when you entrust such recruitment processes to chiefs and assistant chiefs, there's always that mentality that there will be bias, that they will favor certain individuals as opposed to others, and so convolutes the entire process. I want to look at what happened in Kangemi today and what also happened, I think, in Kihara, Kiambaa constituency today. People are saying we can tell the people who went for training yesterday and today are not members of our villages or don't come from our locality. So aren't you therein starting from a false note, so to say, in terms of mistrust, such that people will say, if these people are not recruited properly, fairly, equitably, then even the entire exercise will also have the same challenges.
Thank you. You know, and that's why I started by saying that really, when we had set up this process, we had to look at the government structure that is available up to a much lower level. Now, KNBS as an institution does not have representation at the sub-county, division, location, or sub-location. Now, if we are to subject the potential applicants to all submit the application to our office, then it means they have to go to the county headquarters.
Okay.
And we really need to understand how varied this country is. We need to appreciate that. So we had to provide for easier means of people dropping the application. And how are we safeguarding all the applications that have come? A candidate comes and fills in a register, which we established, and a serial number is generated. So when the applications are being taken to the next level, it is taken together with the register, and we are able to confirm that all these applicants whose names are here, whose serials have been generated here, the application requests are actually submitted. Now, so the chiefs and the assistant chiefs did not even have a role in deciding on who is to be recruited. And we also need to take to get to understand what kind of type of committee we are talking about at the county level. We are talking of the county commissioner being the chair of the committee. Then we are talking of the county statistics officer being the secretary. We are talking of the human resource at the county level being part of it. We have representation of the county government, 2 officers from the county government, one of them being the director of planning. Then we have a religious leader, and we have NGO represented. So we are talking of a team of between 15 and 16 members. Now tell me, would all these people, including the religious leaders, collude and say that here, this is the person we are taking and this is the one we are leaving?
So you're saying there was no favoritism in the recruitment exercise?
No. And we also went round. And by the way, even when we talk of the youth, I remember on one Saturday when the interviews were being done for the enumerators, I was in Bungoma. I saw the youthful faces which were waiting to undertake the interviews. And even for those interviews, in fact, if people would be saying that there was leakage of exam, that would be a different story. But this is one thing that we properly guarded, which we made sure was not printed anywhere. We would have them in the phone through an email, which had a password. Now, the same password would only be given out when the candidates are seated to do their exams, and it would be opened and read. So we were giving them time to write the questions before now answering them. Now, that was meant to safeguard any leakage of the exam, because remember, we also don't have the machineries that would help us protect the interview questions that would be done across the country. And we are also aware that there is a lot of the social media can make you and can also break you. Here, any chance of a paper flying anywhere would have meant that there would be some leakages. Now, for the cases where interviews were not done at the same time, we provided for different exams. Now, that would have been part of my worry. But here we are talking of exams that were guarded, then the marking scheme provided, a team sat together to mark and provide the marks, then they are shortlisted based on the performance and other characteristics that were being looked at, that you are from this area, you are from this, we could have an area producing 10.
Okay.
But you only want 3. You cannot have all the 10 so that other areas are denied chances. These are things that were practiced on the ground.
Mr. Obudho, we are going to take a break, but there's one question I'd like you to answer before we take a break. 2 things. One, people are asking about their security. How sure are they that whoever is going to come to my house will be an enumerator and they won't attack me? And 2, what if they decide, I don't want to open my door, I don't want to be counted? What does that mean?
Thank you. 2 issues. One, census in Kenya is not being undertaken for the first time. We have undertaken censuses right from 1948, then 62, then 69, 79, 89, 99, 2009, and we are now doing the 8th one. There was also one that was done in 1897, where it was just about head count, 1, 2, 3. So we do not regard it so much as part of the census, but it was done in Kenya. Now, the censuses that have been conducted after independence, right from 1969, the reference night is 24th, 25th. Now, at that point, we are talking of taking the census stock, because it is at a point in time. So we are using that one as the reference point, because we are doing what we call the de facto census and not a de jure census. So the de facto census would mean that we have the total count at a particular time within a given boundary. Now, that is the system of census that we are taking, which is also undertaken by many countries worldwide. Now, beyond the 24th, 25th night, the rest of the work will be done during the daytime. So this is only providing the reference night, and those who will be counted within that night, because it's just a few hours to the following morning, those who will be counted, security is actually going to be provided. So we are not doing the census for the first time. We have done it before, and security has always been provided. Remember, the census exercise is taken by the...
Macdonald, a lot has changed since 1948. And you know,
can you make reference to 2009?
Even 2009.
Yeah.
A lot has changed even 2009.
Yes.
Because you look at the nature of insecurity these days. You have people coming in pretending to be meter readers, for example, or water readers.
Yes.
Isn't this looking like a perfect opportunity for crooks to use and say, we are enumerators from KNBS?
I need to explain this further. That one, for enumerators, we are talking of people who are within those localities. meaning that a number of them, maybe with the exception of the urban, for the rural areas, all these fellows will be known. That is one. Two, we are providing the badges. Three, we are providing reflector jackets for the three cadres. We have three different colors that we are going to use. Now, a jacket, the reflector jacket on the right hand side has the government logo. On the left hand side, it has the Census logo. At the back, it has the slogan, Jitokeze uhesabike.
Maybe you've just told the people at River Road to prepare as many.
I've not even talked of the colors. But of course, this is information that should be with the Kenyans. We need to share, because now lack of information is what is resulting in some of the things that we are seeing out there.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Obudho, thank you so much. We are going to let you go now. And we thank you for being part of the gang tonight. We'll continue the rest of the show after a short break. We'll continue with the politics of the census and, of course, the BBI. Keep watching News Gang. We'll be right back.